Marcus Cole stood at the window of his quarters on Verith Prime. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. Behind him, Lyra hummed softly as she prepared their evening meal. Her skin glowed with soft blue light, the color of contentment. 3 years. 3 years since he had first seen her in the medical wing of the space station. She had been treating wounded soldiers from a border skirmish. Human soldiers. Most aliens refused to touch humans back then. They thought humans were too violent, too unpredictable. But Lyra had looked at the bleeding men and seen only patients who needed help. Marcus had watched her work for hours. Her hands moved with grace and precision. Her bioluminescent skin shifted colors as she concentrated. Blue for calm, green for focus. Sometimes a flicker of purple when a patient's pain touched her. Empathic senses. The Sci-Fi were the most peaceful species in the known galaxy. They had no military, no weapons. Their entire civilization was built on healing and understanding. For 1,000 years, they had served as neutral mediators in conflicts across 100 star systems. No one attacked the Sci-Fi. It would be like attacking a hospital. Marcus was everything Lyra's people feared about humans. He was a soldier first, a diplomat second. His hands had taken lives. His record was classified at the highest levels. The scars on his body told stories he never spoke about. But Lyra saw something else in him. She saw the way he sat with dying soldiers and held their hands. She saw how he remembered every name of every person under his command. She saw the gentleness he hid beneath his warrior's exterior. Their courtship had scandalized 2 species. Humans thought Marcus was betraying his own kind by loving an alien. The Sci-Fi worried that Lyra was corrupting herself by bonding with a creature of violence. The Galactic Council had debated for months before recognizing their marriage. None of it mattered to Marcus. When Lyra touched his face and her skin glowed pink with love, the whole universe could burn for all he cared. "You are thinking heavy thoughts," Lyra said. She had crossed the room without him noticing. Her hand rested on his shoulder. Her skin pulsed with gentle concern, shifting to a worried yellow. "Just remembering," Marcus said. He turned and pulled her close. She was tall for her species, but still a head shorter than him. Her body was warm against his. "Remembering how lucky I am. Luck had nothing to do with it." Lyra smiled. Her people did not naturally smile. She had learned the expression for him. "I chose you, Marcus Cole, despite everything my people said." "Despite everything your people said? Why?" He had asked her this before. He would probably ask her again. Some part of him still could not believe she was real. "Because you are gentle," she said simply. "The most violent species in the galaxy, and you learn to be gentle. That takes more strength than any war." The communication panel chimed. Marcus frowned. He was off duty. No one should be contacting him at this hour. Commander Cole. The face on the screen belonged to Admiral Chun, his superior officer. Her expression was wrong. Too controlled. Too careful. "We need you at Central Command immediately. What happened?" The Admiral hesitated. In 20 years of service, Marcus had never seen her hesitate. "It's about the Sci-Fi medical frigate. The one your wife's sister serves on." Lyra's hand tightened on his arm. Her skin flickered through a dozen colors too fast to read. "There's been an incident," the Admiral continued. "The ship has been taken. Hostages have been taken. We're still gathering information, but what? Your wife's sister is among them." "And Marcus?" Another hesitation. "So is your wife's scheduled replacement. The healer who was supposed to take over Lyra's rotation next month." Marcus felt Lyra stiffen beside him. "I was not supposed to take leave," Lyra whispered. "I was supposed to be on that ship. My sister convinced me to stay here with you instead. She said you needed me more." The Admiral's voice continued, but Marcus barely heard her. His mind was processing, calculating, running through scenarios. The Cathari were the most likely culprits. They had been expanding aggressively into neutral territory. A Selvari medical ship would be a valuable target. Ehlers made excellent hostages. Who has them? Marcus asked. His voice was calm. Too calm. A warlord named Voss Kren. He's demanding the withdrawal of human forces from 3 contested systems. If we don't comply, he'll execute 1 hostage per cycle, starting in 72 hours. Lyra made a sound. A small, broken sound. Her sister. Her friends. Her people. All of them held by a monster. Marcus watched his wife's skin cycle through grief and fear and helplessness. The colors were painful to look at. Selvari were not built for this kind of horror. Their empathic nature meant they felt everything deeply, completely. He should comfort her. He should hold her and tell her everything would be okay. That was what a good husband would do. Instead, something inside Marcus went quiet. The Admiral was still talking. Diplomatic channels, council sessions, proper procedures, all the civilized ways that civilized species handled civilized problems. Marcus had stopped being civilized a long time ago. Marcus? Lyra was looking at him. Her skin had gone pale, almost white. She knew him better than anyone. She could feel his emotions through physical contact. And right now, she was feeling something that made her afraid. I need you to stay here, Marcus said. His voice did not sound like his own. I need you to stay safe. Can you do that for me? What are you going to do? He did not answer. He kissed her forehead gently. Then he walked to the door. Marcus! She called after him. Marcus, please. Tell me what you're thinking. Your emotions? I've never felt anything like this from you. It's like you've gone somewhere cold and dark and far away. He paused at the door. When he turned back, his eyes were empty. There's a saying on Earth, he said quietly. An old saying. From before we reached the stars. Before we learned to be peaceful and diplomatic and civilized. What saying? Don't wake the sleeping giant. Marcus smiled, but there was no warmth in it. The Cathari just poked him in the eye. He left without another word behind him. Lyra stood alone in their quarters, her skin flickering with colors that had no name. She had always believed in her husband's gentleness. She had defended it to everyone who doubted. Now, for the first time, she wondered what that gentleness had been hiding. The Galactic Council chamber was built to inspire awe. Its ceiling stretched 100 meters high. Its walls were lined with the flags of every member species. Representatives from across the galaxy sat in tiered rows, their various forms ranging from humanoid to crystalline to things that had no comparison in Earth biology. Marcus stood at the central podium. He wore his dress uniform. Every medal, every ribbon, every mark of honor he had earned in 2 decades of service. He wanted them to see what a human soldier looked like. Commander Cole, the High Arbiter said. The Arbiter was a Volanti, a species that resembled floating jellyfish. Its voice was translated through a device that made it sound like wind chimes. You have requested permission to address this council regarding the Cathari hostage situation. I have. You understand this is highly irregular. Military officers do not typically participate in diplomatic proceedings. I understand. The chamber buzzed with whispered conversations. Marcus could feel their eyes on him. Most species in the galaxy viewed humans with a mixture of fascination and fear. Humans were young compared to the other civilizations. They had only achieved faster than light travel 3 centuries ago. But in that short time, they had made themselves impossible to ignore. The High Arbiter gestured permission. Marcus cleared his throat. 3 days ago, a Selvari medical frigate was attacked in neutral space. 47 crew members were taken hostage by forces loyal to the Kethari warlord Voskren. His demands are simple. He wants human military forces withdrawn from the Tasari, Vorn, and Kellic systems. If we refuse, he will begin executing hostages. We are aware of the situation, a Kethari representative said. His voice was like gravel scraping stone. This is a matter between our species and yours. The Selvari are unfortunate casualties of a larger conflict. The Selvari are healers, Marcus said. They have no part in our conflicts. Voskren chose to target them specifically because he knew they could not fight back. A practical decision. One cannot fault, I can. The chamber went silent. Marcus looked around the room slowly. His gaze moved from face to face, species to species. I've served humanity for 23 years, he said. In that time, I've fought in wars most of you have never heard of. I've done things that would give your children nightmares. And through it all, I've followed orders. I've respected the chain of command. I've played by the rules of civilized society. He paused. My wife is Selvari. Her sister is on that ship. This has become personal. The Kethari representative made a dismissive sound. Personal feelings have no place in. Let me tell you a story, Marcus interrupted. A history lesson about what humans are. He touched a control on the podium. The chamber's central display activated, showing an image of Earth. 200 years before we achieved spaceflight, there was a city on our world called Stalingrad. Two great armies fought for control of it. The battle lasted 5 months. The conditions were beyond anything you can imagine. Temperatures dropped so low that weapons froze. Soldiers ate rats and leather, and sometimes each other. Over 2 million people died. The images changed. Ruined buildings, frozen bodies, destruction on a scale that made several representatives look away. The defenders were outgunned, outnumbered, and outmaneuvered. Any logical analysis would say they should surrender. Any rational being would have negotiated peace. Marcus looked at the Kethari representative. They didn't surrender. They fought for every room and every building. They fought until the streets were paved with corpses. And in the end they won. Not because they were stronger. Not because they had better weapons. They won because they refused to stop. The chamber was completely silent. You've known humanity for 3 centuries, Marcus continued. In that time, we've been good neighbors. We've followed your rules. We've traded and negotiated and compromised. We've shown you the face we want you to see. He took a step forward. You've never seen what's underneath. Is this a threat, Commander? The High Arbiter asked. No, this is an explanation. Marcus's voice was soft now, almost gentle. For the past 300 years, humanity has kept something locked away. A part of ourselves that we don't talk about. A capacity for violence that makes every other species in this galaxy look like children playing with toys. He touched the display again. New images appeared. Wars throughout human history. The endless bloody conflicts that had shaped their species. We fight when we're outmatched. We fight when there's no hope of winning. We fight when any sane creature would run or surrender. And when someone hurts what we love. Marcus looked directly at the Kethari representative. We don't stop until they're destroyed. Not defeated, destroyed. We burn their cities. We salt their fields. We erase their names from history. And then we write songs about it. The representative's scales shifted color. It was the Kethari equivalent of fear. I'm asking this council for permission to handle this situation personally, Marcus said. Quietly. No records, no witnesses. Give me 72 hours. I will retrieve the hostages. I will deal with Voskren, and none of you will have to dirty your hands. The High Arbiter conferred with the other senior representatives. Marcus waited. "Commander Cole," the Arbiter finally said, "while we appreciate your passion, this council cannot authorize unilateral military action. Such a precedent would undermine the diplomatic framework that maintains peace throughout the galaxy. You're saying no. We are saying that proper channels must be respected. A negotiation team is being assembled. The Cathari government has agreed to mediate. We believe a peaceful resolution is possible." Marcus nodded slowly. "And if Voskren starts executing hostages while you're negotiating? We will address that possibility if it arises." Marcus looked around the chamber one more time. These beings thought they understood conflict. They thought their rules and procedures could contain the chaos of the universe. They had no idea what they were dealing with. "Thank you for your time," Marcus said politely. He straightened his uniform. "I hope your negotiations are successful." He walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the silent chamber. "Commander Cole," the Cathari representative called out. There was something new in its voice. Something that might have been nervousness. "What will you do now?" Marcus paused at the door. He did not turn around. "I'm going to go home," he said. "I'm going to tell my wife that the council is handling the situation. And then I'm going to have a quiet evening. And after that?" Marcus smiled. No one could see it, but they could hear it in his voice. "After that? I suppose we'll see." He left the chamber. The doors closed behind him. The representative sat in uneasy silence. Something had changed in the room. Something fundamental. They had looked into the eyes of a human with nothing left to lose, and they had seen something ancient looking back. The High Arbiter finally spoke. "I believe we should accelerate our negotiation timeline." No one disagreed. Voskren had earned his reputation through 30 years of brutality. He had risen from common soldier to warlord through a combination of cunning and savagery. His fortress station orbited a dead moon at the edge of known space. 3,000 soldiers called it home. Its shields could withstand orbital bombardment. Its weapons could destroy entire fleets. He was not afraid of anything. On the 4th day after taking the hostages, that began to change. It started with the patrol ships. The Cathari maintained a perimeter of scout vessels around the station. 12 ships running constant rotations. They reported every 6 hours without fail. On the 4th day, a patrol ship went silent. Voss sent another ship to investigate. They found the first vessel drifting, powerless, its crew unconscious but alive. The ship had not been damaged. Its weapons had never been fired. There were no signs of forced entry. Carved into the hull in the old Cathari script was a single word: return. Voss doubled the patrols. The next night, 3 more ships went dark. The crews were found in the same condition, unconscious, unharmed, no memory of what had happened. And on each hull, the same message: return. Voss ordered all patrol ships back to the station. He tripled the guard rotations. Every corridor, every access point, every ventilation shaft was monitored. On the 6th day, Lieutenant Corax entered his quarters after a long shift. He secured the door, removed his armor, and lay down on his bunk. There was something under his pillow. Corax pulled it out slowly. It was a small rectangle of paper. Earth material. On one side was a painted design of a human figure. On the other side was a handwritten note. "I'm closer than you think." Corax checked his door. Still locked. Still secured. He checked the ventilation grates. Too small for any adult to fit through. He checked every corner of his room. Nothing. No one. He reported the incident to his commander. His commander found a similar card in his own quarters. So did a dozen other officers. Panic began to spread. Voskren called a meeting of his senior staff. They gathered in the command center, surrounded by guards. "Someone is playing games with us," Voss said. One of our own people must be a traitor. We've interrogated every possible suspect, his second-in-command replied. We found nothing. And the cards, they're made of materials we don't have access to. Earth materials. Are you saying a human is on this station? I'm saying I don't know how else to explain it. Voss slammed his fist on the table. This station has 64 external access points. All sealed. All monitored. We have 3,000 soldiers. The corridors are under constant surveillance. One human cannot possibly. The lights flickered. Every screen in the command center went dark for exactly 3 seconds. When they came back on, they all displayed the same image. A photograph of the Silvari healer Lyravan. Voss felt something cold settle in his stomach. Find him, he ordered. Search every compartment. Every storage bay. Every maintenance tunnel. I want every centimeter of this station examined. The search lasted 18 hours. They found nothing, but they found the aftermath. A supply crate opened during the night, contained nothing but playing cards. Hundreds of them. A message was scratched into the metal. 47 lives. 47 chances to walk away. A guard on the detention level swore he heard footsteps behind him. When he turned, the corridor was empty. But on the floor was a single card with the words, I saw your family. They look peaceful. The rumors spread faster than Voss could contain them. A human ghost, they whispered. A demon from that cursed world. He moves through walls. He sees everything. He's already inside. None of it was true. Marcus Cole was just a man. He had no supernatural abilities, no special technology. He had simply spent 3 weeks studying the station's schematics, its patrol patterns, its security protocols. He had identified every blind spot, every weakness, every moment of inattention, and he had learned, over decades of service, that fear was a more powerful weapon than any bomb. On the 8th day, soldiers started deserting. They stole escape pods, shuttlecraft, anything that could carry them away from the station. They would rather face the emptiness of space than spend another night waiting for the HFY human to find them. Voss executed 3 deserters publicly to make an example. It only accelerated the exodus. On the 9th day, Voskren received a transmission. The face on the screen was human. Unremarkable features. Average build. The kind of man you would pass on a station concourse without a second glance. Voskren, the human said. My name is Marcus Cole. You have something that belongs to me. Commander Cole. Voss kept his voice steady. I'd heard about you. The Council's pet soldier. The human who married one of those glowing weaklings. I'm going to give you one chance, Marcus said. His voice was conversational. Pleasant, even. Release the hostages. Surrender yourself to galactic authorities. Do this, and I'll let you live. Voss laughed. The sound was harsh and forced. You're one man. I have 3,000 soldiers. You can play your little games, but you cannot touch me. I've already touched you, Marcus said. Your soldiers are fleeing. Your officers are jumping at shadows. You haven't slept properly in days. I can see it in your eyes. I'm not afraid of... Yes, you are. Marcus leaned closer to the camera. And you should be. Because everything you've experienced so far, the cards, the messages, the disappeared patrols, that was me being patient. That was me giving you time to make the right choice. And if I refuse? Marcus smiled. It was the most terrifying thing Voss had ever seen. Then I stopped being patient. The transmission ended. Voskren sat alone in his command center, surrounded by screens showing empty corridors and nervous guards. For the first time in 30 years of violence and conquest, he felt something he thought he had forgotten. Fear. The 12th day began with silence. No more cards appeared. No more messages. No more ships went dark. The station seemed to hold its breath. Voskren convinced himself it was over. The human had tried his tricks and failed. The patrols had been strengthened. The guards were on high alert. Whatever psychological warfare Marcus Cole had attempted, it had reached its limit. He was wrong. At exactly midnight, station time. Every light on the fortress went out. Emergency power should have kicked in within seconds. It didn't. The station hung in absolute darkness. 3,000 soldiers suddenly blind and trapped. The screaming started almost immediately. Soldiers stumbled through black corridors, calling for their companions. Doors that should have opened stayed sealed. Communication systems produced nothing but static. In the complete absence of light, every sound became a threat. Then the sounds began. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming from everywhere and nowhere. Whispers in the darkness. Voices speaking words in Earth languages that no one understood. A soldier would feel something brush past him. He would grab for it, and his hands would close on empty air. Another would see a shape in the darkness. A silhouette that disappeared when he looked directly at it. By the time the lights returned. 4 hours later, the station was in chaos. Soldiers had barricaded themselves in storage rooms. Officers had abandoned their posts. The detention level, where the hostages were held, had been completely evacuated by terrified guards. And in the main corridor leading to the command center, a single line of playing cards lay on the floor, forming a path. Voss followed the path. He didn't know why. Some part of him understood that the time for hiding was over. The cards led to the command center doors. They were open. Marcus Cole sat in Voss's chair. He was covered in grime and dried blood. His uniform was torn. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. He looked nothing like the polished soldier who had addressed the Galactic Council. He looked like what humans had been before civilization found them. A predator, a survivor, something that had crawled out of the darkness of an unforgiving world and learned to make that darkness its home. "Hello, Voss," Marcus said. Voss reached for his weapon. His hand touched empty holster. He looked down in confusion. "You dropped it about 300 meters back," Marcus said, "during the blackout. You don't remember because you were too busy running." "How did you?" "I've been on this station for 11 days. Marcus stood slowly. "I've watched you sleep. I've stood in your quarters while you dreamed. I've mapped every corner of this place, learned every routine, memorized every face." Guards burst through a side entrance, weapons raised. Marcus didn't even look at them. "Tell them to stand down," he said. "Or don't. I really don't care anymore." Voss hesitated. Then he raised his hand. The guards lowered their weapons. "What do you want?" Voss asked. "You know what I want." Marcus took a step forward. "The hostages. All of them. Now. And if I give them to you, then you live. You spend the rest of your life in a galactic prison, but you live." Voss laughed bitterly. "Prison? My enemies would kill me within a week. Probably." Marcus shrugged. "That's not my problem." Voss looked at the human standing before him. Smaller than a Keth Ari. Weaker. No natural weapons, no armor, no claws. By every measure, humans should have been prey animals on any world in the galaxy. But there was something in those eyes that transcended physical strength. Something ancient and patient and absolutely merciless. "There is another option," Voss said slowly. "I still have the hostages. If you try to take them by force, my guards will kill them all. Your guards have abandoned the detention level. I walked through it on my way here." Voss's face twitched. "Then I'll kill them myself. One word from me, and what? Your communication systems are still down. Your officers are scattered across the station. Half your soldiers have deserted. You have no leverage left. Marcus took another step forward. Voss stepped back. He bumped against the console. "Here's what's going to happen," Marcus said. "You're going to walk with me to the detention level. You're going to open every cell. You're going to personally escort every hostage to my ship. And then you're going to surrender yourself to galactic authorities. Why would I do any of that?" Marcus smiled. It was a terrible smile, because the alternative is worse than anything you can imagine. He leaned close. "You think this ends if you kill me? If I die here, humanity will know. And they'll come for you. Not soldiers. Not diplomats. Every human who's ever lost someone they loved. Every human who's ever felt the rage we keep buried inside us. They'll come for you, and they won't stop until your species is a memory. You're bluffing. Am I?" Marcus held up his hand. A small device rested in his palm. "This transmitter has been recording everything since I entered the station. Live feed to Earth, to the colonies, to every human settlement in the galaxy. They've been watching. They've been waiting." Voss felt the blood drain from his face. "That's not possible. We spent centuries killing each other over patches of dirt and differences in belief. Do you really think we're not capable of anything?" The command center was silent. Somewhere in the distance, alarm sirens wailed. Voss Kren, conqueror of a dozen worlds, looked into the eyes of a single human and saw the truth. He had made a terrible mistake. "All right," Voss whispered. "All right." "You win," Marcus nodded. "Yes, I do." The hostages were released without further incident. Voss Kren walked beside Marcus through the detention level, opening cells, freeing prisoners. The Selvari healers emerged slowly, blinking in the harsh light. They were thin and frightened, but alive. All 47 of them. Lyravan's sister found Marcus before he found her. "You're the one," she said. Her skin glowed with a complex mixture of colors he couldn't read. "Lyra's human. She told me about you." "I'm sorry it took so long," Marcus said. "The others, the guards, they were terrified of you. They spoke of demons and ghosts." She studied his face. "You're just a man. Sometimes that's enough." He escorted the hostages to his ship. It was a small vessel, barely large enough for 50 passengers. He had stolen it from a Keth Uri patrol on his way into the system. Voss Kren stood at the airlock, hands bound, waiting for the galactic authorities who would take him into custody. He had not spoken since leaving the command center. As Marcus prepared for departure, Voss finally broke his silence. "How did you do it?" Marcus paused at the controls. "Do what?" "All of it. The fear, the games, the shadows. You had no army, no weapons. How did one man bring down a fortress?" Marcus turned to face him. "Your people think humans are dangerous because we're violent," he said. "That's part of it. But it's not the whole truth." He walked closer to the bound warlord. "The truth is that humans are patient. We spent 10,000 years as prey animals on a world that wanted to kill us. We learned to wait. We learned to watch. We learned that the most powerful weapon isn't a gun or a bomb. It's fear. I've used fear before," Voss said. "It never worked like this. You used fear to control people. I used fear to destroy you." Marcus shook his head. "There's a difference. You made people afraid of what you might do. I made you afraid of what you couldn't see, couldn't predict, couldn't stop." The airlock opened. Galactic peacekeepers entered to take custody of Voss Kren. "One more thing," Marcus said as they led the warlord away. "You asked why you should tell everyone what happened here. Why you should spread the story." Voss looked back. "Because the next person who thinks about taking a human's family needs to know what happens. They need to hear it from someone who survived. And they need to understand that I showed mercy here. Next time, there might not be mercy. Voskren said nothing. But as the peacekeepers escorted him away, his eyes carried a message that needed no words. He would tell the story. He would tell it to everyone who would listen. The message would spread. 3 weeks later, Marcus Cole returned home. The apartment on Verith Prime was exactly as he had left it. The twin suns still painted the sky in purple and gold. The air still smelled of Lyra's cooking. She was waiting for him at the door. Her skin cycled through colors so rapidly that he couldn't track them. Joy and relief and fear and love, all mixed together in a display that would have been overwhelming to anyone else. He held her for a long time without speaking. "I watched the recordings," she finally said. "The transmissions from the station. I saw what you did. I'm sorry you had to see that. I'm not." She pulled back to look at his face. "I married you knowing what you were, what you're capable of. I just didn't understand it until now." Marcus touched her cheek. Her skin pulsed warm against his fingers. "Are you afraid of me?" "No." She shook her head. "I'm afraid for you. The darkness you carry, Marcus. The things you can do when you let it out. How do you live with that?" He considered the question carefully. "I don't let it define me," he said slowly. "It's a tool. A weapon I can use when I need to and put away when I don't. The hard part isn't using it. The hard part is putting it back. And can you? Put it back?" Marcus looked out the window at the setting suns. His reflection stared back at him. Just a man, tired, worn, but still standing. "Ask me tomorrow," he said. Lyra took his hand and led him inside. The Galactic Council held a formal hearing 6 weeks later. Marcus stood before the same chamber where he had warned them. The same representatives sat in the same tiered seats. But something had changed. The way they looked at him was different now. "Commander Cole," the High Arbiter said, "your actions on the Kethari station have raised serious questions about proper protocol and the chain of command. I'm sure they have. You operated without authorization. You ignored council directives. You engaged in psychological warfare against a sovereign power. I saved 47 lives." The chamber was silent. "The council has reviewed the evidence," the Arbiter continued. "We have also received communications from across the galaxy. The Kethari government has formally apologized for Voskren's actions. Several other powers have expressed concern about humanity's capabilities." "Concern?" "Fear," the Arbiter admitted. "Many species are now afraid of what humans might do if provoked." Marcus nodded slowly. "Good. Good. For 300 years, humanity has tried to prove we're civilized. We've followed your rules, respected your customs, kept our darker nature hidden. And in return, predators like Voskren have treated us as targets." He looked around the chamber. "That ends now. Let them be afraid. Let them think twice before hurting another human or anyone under human protection. Fear isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it's the only thing that keeps the wolves at bay." The Arbiter considered this for a long moment. "The Council has decided not to pursue formal charges," she finally said. "Your methods were unorthodox, but effective. However, we must ask, will this happen again? Will humans continue to take matters into their own hands?" Marcus smiled. "That depends entirely on you." He returned home that evening to find Lyra waiting with dinner prepared. "What did they decide?" she asked. "No charges. Unofficial approval. Stern warnings about future behavior. So everything goes back to normal?" Marcus sat down across from his wife. Her skin glowed soft blue in the evening light. The color of contentment. The color of peace. "Nothing goes back to normal," he said quietly. "The galaxy knows now. They know what we're capable of. What we're willing to do for the people we love. Is that a bad thing?" He thought about it. About the darkness he carried. about the line he had crossed and the things he had done, about the look in Voskren's eyes when he finally understood what he was facing. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I know this. You're safe. Your sister is safe. Everyone who was taken from that ship is home with their families." Lyra reached across the table and took his hand. "Then it was worth it," she said simply. Marcus held her hand tightly. Outside, the twin suns set below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. Somewhere in the galaxy, species who had never given humanity a second thought were now having quiet conversations about what they had witnessed, about a single man who had walked into a fortress and broken it without firing a shot, about the sleeping giant that should never be awakened, and in a small apartment on Verith Prime, a human soldier and his alien wife sat down to dinner, grateful for another peaceful evening in a universe that had suddenly learned to be careful. Some lessons, after all, only need to be taught once. The end.